So glad. That was a long haul for you, wasn't it?
I was sick for about 2 weeks, and then and I'm still getting over this stupid bug.
Oh, darn.
But it's, one day at a time, doing good.
There we go.
I just finished. I want to get her name right. Hang on. Raluca.
You just what?
I
Watching.
I
Oh,
just
watching.
finished watching Raluca's video.
Oh, cool.
Man, that was inspirational.
Oh, good.
I wanted to leave a comment like, "Oh, you're so great."
Great.
I had to keep myself from leaving a comment, and I wanted to so bad.
Well, I'm glad you didn't, just so that she didn't know that it was watched. But I'm so glad. Yeah, tell me what were some takeaways for you with it?
Oh, just hearing how her voice, her tone transformed. She has this, the Slavic accent like I work with daily. And understanding about how the tongue is more flat. Especially
when you say is, you mean we need them to make their tongue more flat, or their tongue?
Well, having more space in the mouth, allowing the tongue to be more flat. And
so I'm just going to pause you. Is this recording? Just want to make sure, because sometimes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. I had one the other day where I always remember to do it, and for some reason, it just like 20 minutes went by. Anyway, great.
No. Yeah. So, and yeah, having more of the when she opened her mouth just a little bit more, and plus I was watching your videos too, your training videos with, the smile. I don't know what else to call it except for just a little bit of a smile, and just seeing how just that little dip in her tongue, it made the sound so much better.
Yeah. So that's a main thing with a lot of accents, but particularly Slavic. Their tongue, I tend to say it's like it's in high heels. The back just lives up there, super high. And so our main thing is going to be getting their tongue to relax down and have that open sound. So then you get things like I was hearing in your Anastasia video, where it's like, yeah, instead of eh, or instead of ah, these things that sometimes just it can be really hard because there's so much residual tension there that it's like they think they're bringing it down, but it's just. And then the main thing too is then the more kind of tense they get about it, the more it shoots up. So having those moments where kind of.
I had her class the other day, and she was just tense. I'm like, just relax, it's just me. But she had some great feedback. I didn't send you that video, but so now I'm working with her to talk about more. I said, let's just talk about things that are familiar to you, things that you know very well, that you don't have to grab translations out of the air.
Yeah. So I did want to talk about that video that I saw with Anastasia and use that as a teaching tool opportunity for today.
Okay.
So I guess my first question, are you teaching accent right now? Not just ESL? You're also teaching accent?
I'm teaching her both. I'm just practicing with her.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Because like until you've got the 21 accents, certification thing. It's not a full certification program, but we just didn't want you to advertise as 21 accents or anything like that.
Oh, no. I'm not doing that. No.
Yeah. Cool. But of course, you're paying for the training. So of course I love that you're already working with everything you have. That's great. I love that I could tell that you'd paid very specific attention to what was it that needed to be worked on with her. That was great. And then a couple things. First off, when you started off going into the different accents, it's a good idea in general to show some different things, but until you feel like you've really, really got those accents down, if you switch into them and it's not quite, it doesn't sound natural, they'll actually lose confidence in you. So like the Southern accent still sounds accenty to me. And so it's good like, to use it as a play into like some kind of different sounds are down in here, or some kind of, it can be good to just show perspective there, but I would say you're not ready to teach that yet. And so just be mindful of it's so important for them to have confidence in us. And so anytime that we're stretching outside of what seems totally natural, they're going to lose confidence, because they don't want to be, they do not want to be weird. They don't want to have their mouth moving in some weird way, or, like that deep fear. So we talked about making everything really simple and natural, and yes, slower, so they can get it, but not exaggerated or caricature at all, is really, really important.
Okay.
So for that, and then I guess the main thing, rather than trying, it's so, especially when they're new or there's a lot to cover, it can be really tempting to want to cover a lot of different ground. But in that way, they don't quite get anything down. We really have to spend some time with something in particular. And when they get it in that instance, like there was the sound, which one? Oh, the I, when you were working on the I, and she was saying, yeah. So first, what I heard a lot of was you repeating yourself. And there were some times when you showed her what she was doing and when you did it, but a lot of the time you just kept saying the same thing. And unless you show them what they're doing, like literally show them how to do what they want to do, and really slow it way down, they won't hear it. They won't know the difference, and they won't know that. And you'll just get into this repeating where you're doing one, she's doing hers, you're doing hers, she's doing hers.
Yeah.
And it won't know. So that's really, really key, is that slowing down part.
Okay. And I think our last class was much better.
Great.
But I'll take it even slower than that. Okay. Yeah.
And then with the it, I love how you used this for it. Another great one is this, it. And then a really important one, when we've got those rare, albeit, vowels of ours that are pure and aren't a diphthong. What can happen if you've got somebody like in Slavic accent who's turning it into a diphthong, yeah, which is a diphthong, right? If you tell it to them in two notes, eh, they're going to hear that as two different sounds. So they'll still be diphthonging it. So you have to keep it one note. Eh, so they can hear that it doesn't change. Otherwise, they'll hear that it changes, and they'll think they're doing it right.
Okay.
That's a good key for those, and especially for I know you worked with that a lot too. And then just if you find they're not getting it in a couple, pause, do something else. Because another thing can happen where if there's so much of like, they do it, you do it, they do it, you do it, like it just creates kind of this like buzz effect where they're not really there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's time to go like, pause, or say, I'm going to pause you for just a second. And then you go, you're doing great. This one's tricky. Something that just breaks up that pattern of back and forth. And then, and then showing it a different way and saying and describing it. Like, this one's really simple. It's a very, it's short and it kind of focuses up here, or you can do this, or actually is not here, that's but for you can go up here to the cheekbone, or do something like that, nice and simple. Yeah, and then if you need to extend it, still keep it really simple, going and sometimes it is helpful for them to hold it if what they're doing is changing it into a diphthong. But I found it helpful to do sort of a note.
Okay.
Cool. And then for the flap, for the like butter sound, I can't remember what the word was. Maybe it was a transition in between or something like that. There's a difference between a D, like dad, the D at the beginning, and a flap. So be really careful when you're teaching them a flap, not to say butter, because that's not correct. You know?
Yeah.
And what can happen is they'll get into that place where they're creating it instead of it flapping. Butter.
Butter.
Yeah.
Like a flutter.
And then doing these kind of, you know, get it into a pattern in your hands where your hand is doing it exactly the rhythm that you want, and that'll help them. Yeah. Because what they're doing is butter. But if you can go butter. Butter is, remember butter. That's one of those home words. Butter for whatever reason. And they can say butter, even if they can't do a flap in any other word. Usually they can get butter. So you have them do butter, and then they see they can do it. And then you go, wow, it's the same thing as it is. It is. And if they're not, if they're going, it is, or it is, or something like that, you can have them say butter again. Butter. And then you can say, but is. But is. Take what they already have and graft onto it part of the new one. And we'll establish that pattern, and it's not as far to go.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So then the other main thing with the two, kind of how to think of it, you can think of it in two different ways. Of first, it's getting them to just be able to make the sound at all. And then once you've got that, we really need to spend some time building up the pattern to that, you know, building sort of the map to that sound. So we can do it with is, it is, or whatever, and then Mr. You know, spend some time on some different words there, and put it in a sentence to where if they can do it alone, can they do it with a word in front of it? Can they do it with two words in front of it and still get it? Because by the time they have two words, they might miss it that time.
Yeah.
And then just spend some time building that relationship a little bit. Otherwise, they got it, but they don't have the muscle memory, and it'll be gone, and you'll have to do it all over again.
Yeah, we spent months and months and months just doing traditional ESL, boring reading, grammar, doing blah blah blah, and then she says she wants to do accents. I'm like, okay, so now I'm like having to switch my brains to a totally different style of, and so I'm now trying to break this mold of just doing it a little bit at a time, like you did with like I watched you do with Raluca.
And Raluca is advanced as well. So with her, I could drill into like a little thing that I wouldn't go that detailed with somebody super new. And it is good to celebrate their progress as they go. You know, if you find like they're just not quite there, you know, I still try and find another way to explain it to get them there, because I feel like the more they really grasp even one thing, that gets them closer to the home. And you know, you feel into it, of course, because if you've tried different ways and they're just not having it, then it can be, you know what? You're going to get this. I know you are. We're going to come at it diagonally another moment. But right now, let's move on to this. I promise you we'll come back and we'll get it. Yeah. And then often what happens is You'll find an opportunity, or you'll be working on some other sound. You will slip a word in there that has the previous sound in there, and because they weren't paying attention to it, they'll say it correctly. And you go, yes, you totally said that sound. And, oh, I did? You say, yeah, you can do it. And then you have to do it again, and they probably won't have it. But it's so once they do get it, have them do it 3 times, and if they've gotten it 3 times in a row, then you can move on to another iteration of it, because usually they'll get it. First one, 100% by the time you get it. Second one, 90. Third one, 60%.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah.
But it's really an attention thing. And it's a reorienting their brain thing, because like they get it and then they think, oh, good, I got it. I'll just do it more. I'll just do it more. And then the more ends up going into the old way.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Just the ways brains work.
Yeah, trying to keep her focus. I mean, I'm over here. I'm not over there.
Yeah. And having them focus on you when you're talking and click on themselves and watch their own mouth when they're talking is huge. Super beneficial. I think I saw you do that. Maybe not. But it's really helpful to have them watch their own mouth, because they, I did this session with Antonio yesterday. I've been working with him for quite a while, and he'll be over here. And I'm like, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
It will really help you if you use 2 senses instead of 1. Promise. And he was like, oh, you're right. Huh. Great. So cute. I love your energy. I love how much you care. That's really evident. I love that you make it fun. Be mindful of keeping it as natural as possible in where you sit vocally. And not like it probably works for ESL to be in a sort of a heightened vocal range, but really for accent work, it's so specific, and we want them to be copying you. We want them, as even men, you're their example. So if you're really sitting in a very natural, grounded place with it, and if you're showing something, you can make it slower, but don't break it up unless you're intentionally doing that to show them something. And don't make it sort of an equality with your voice, just keep it.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? I do that with love. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
but it's sort of like,
no, I can see myself doing that because of the kids.
Right.
But
totally. And with kids, if we're trying to keep their attention or something, but anyone who's coming to this kind of work, they're really sharp. And just honor their intelligence by being right there.
She's my best student. She studies the hardest out of all my students. That's why I chose her for this.
That's awesome. That's so great.
Yeah. So,
cool.
My one concern, and I was going to ask you about, is I noticed, and I'll have to watch that video again with Raluca, because you touched on it a little bit, was that Anastasia's tone is almost nasal.
Yeah.
And I was trying to, so not the lesson you watched, but the last lesson I did last Monday, I was trying to get her to bring her tone down, and I didn't know how to explain that to her.
Okay. Yeah, great. I love your question. So what causes that is the back of the tongue being high. If the back of the tongue is high, it's going to send more sound into the nasal region. So that also comes up in like Spanish accents and in certain kinds of accents. So we can tell them that physically what's happening is that the back of your tongue rests in a higher position. And so we can work to, and you see how I'm just always using my hands, we can work to really relax it down.
Yeah.
And we can do some singing with that, of going, of singing, Happy birthday to you. Something like that, really simple. And then they can do an exercise that I've done often with my Slavic language students is to have them right before each word relax the back of their tongue down so that at least they're starting from a lower position. And if they're not even sure how to do that in the beginning, you can have them do like opposites. And I'll do that with something, a movement like this, where I'll go, ee-ah. Because when they go higher,
like you're pulling it down. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then from that lower position, from the go good. Close your eyes and just feel what your tongue is doing here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And have them describe. So go ahead and describe what your tongue is doing there.
Right now?
Yeah. If you want
to, okay.
Describe it. So feel it again. And describe what your tongue is doing.
I'm thinking about a horn, actually, like on an old truck where you go.
Okay. And rather than a metaphor, just describe to me technically what your tongue is physically doing in your mouth.
Making a hole.
Okay. What
I'm making a pit in my tongue.
What part of your tongue?
The middle of my tongue. Kind of the middle.
Okay. And what's the back of your tongue doing?
It's going down. It's going down.
Okay. What does it do when you go ee?
My tongue is up towards my upper teeth.
What part of your tongue?
The back of my tongue.
Okay.
What's up towards my upper teeth.
That's great.
It's just kind of floating there. So yeah, the front of my tongue is kind of floating behind my two front teeth.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I do everything goes down.
Great.
My jaw and everything.
Talking very specifically about particular parts of the tongue makes it a lot more specific. And the more specific we can be and show.
Yeah.
So for me, the tip of my tongue is relaxed at the bottom of my teeth. And the back of the tongue goes down, and you're right, the middle of the tongue goes down. The tip of the tongue can just sort of take a nap. It's just hanging out.
Yeah.
Right there.
Okay.
So those kind of things can be really helpful. We've got a movement, we've got very specific detailing of what's technically happening in your mouth. We're showing it. This is a really good one to just show what's happening in there. I'm not exaggerating it. I'm just doing it and showing them.
Yeah.
And so showing them the difference. If they're not sure how to relax their tongue, which often they're just not because there's so much tension happening all the time, then doing those examples can help. Another exercise that can help is to literally take a hot washcloth. You don't have to do this in class, but you can have them do it as homework. And use it to massage, like literally hold their tongue and massage their tongue this way. And if they do that every day, it will really help with the tension. And then the other great one, which I really recommend to pretty much everybody, is to, unless they're like Australian or something and they're so lax, I've got to get their mouths to be smaller or to, open less wide. Then we'll take this hot washcloth and they hold it like this and hold it in their thumbs and on their fingers that you can massage. I do this every time I, wash my face. Massage from the inside and the outside. So you're literally going like this, all up in here and massaging your jaw tension out. It's going to hurt like heck in the beginning. But if you do it regularly, it makes a huge difference. Huge. Another thing is stretching out your arms, your neck, because it's all connected, right?
Yeah.
So plus,
Yeah.
and then I get to say side bonus. You'll be happier. Side bonus.
Yes.
Everyone likes the side
Oh,
bonus.
yeah.
Because that tension, it
Yeah.
misses us out. Totally.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
That can be helpful. Cool. So then with the tone,
Okay.
to answer your tone question, the main thing is having the back of the tongue down. There's a couple different ways to do it. You can also do some singing, which I found very helpful, especially for Slavic students.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Singing some things because their tongue naturally depresses when you're singing.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
yeah. And you can even just sing whatever text you're working with.
Mm.
Okay. So let's then today, did you have any other questions from your students?
No, that was it. I think I want to work with her on her tone. We've been working on the ing sound,
Yeah,
not
I
just
saw that.
but ing.
Mhm.
Ing. We're still working on ing.
So one thing that can be helpful with
Um,
that is to show again
mhm.
with the hand, the difference is rather than
Ing.
the whole tongue coming up for NG and N and being
Mhm.
like thing, the
Mhm.
difference between in, ing, and just showing that what's
Ing.
happening is the back of the tongue, if this is the back of my throat, the back of the tongue is going
Mm.
uh,
Ing.
mm.
Mm. Mhm.
Yeah, so then going back
Okay.
and forth between those can help them realize, and doing a motion like this can help them realize not to go up for both of them, but to go just the tip for
Mhm.
mm,
Ing.
mm, mm.
Mm, mm,
Go ahead and use your
okay.
hands with it and show me a movement that would be helpful for describing.
Mm, ing. N, ing. Is that how you were doing it?
Good. Yeah. Let me. For some reason, it's really choppy. Let me come in here.
Ing. Ing.
I can
Oh, you're going for a tour.
see. Going for a tour.
Mm.
I'll grab this. Um, and I'll grab this. Yeah.
Ing,
So what we're trying to do
ing,
with the
ing,
hand is
ing,
mimic what we want the tongue to do. So the clearer that is, I
ing,
love how your fingers are flat right there, and how you can
mhm.
use the knuckle part to emulate the back of the tongue.
Ing, 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 ing.
Yeah, so in, make sure that really has no NG sound to it.
Ing, 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 ing.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I can
So
do
with your in,
ending,
really end your in.
ending.
Sorry, go ahead.
Say that again.
With your in, really end it in, so they see the tongue little flick.
In,
In, ing.
in, in.
So I'm going to make a distinction. Instead of holding it, in, release
Mm-hmm.
them so they can really see how clearly. So
In,
I'm going to do it.
in,
Let me do it first.
in.
Let me do it first. In, in, ing,
Mm-hmm.
in, ing. Did you hear the difference?
Yes.
So go ahead and do it.
In, ing,
Great.
in, ing.
Good. Yeah. So do you hear how that could be understood more clearly than if you hold it the whole time?
Yeah.
Because then they
Yeah.
can't quite
Yeah.
tell the difference. But if you release it, then it's easier to tell the difference between in and ing, which this is somebody who can't yet hear the difference between those two. So the clearer we can make that difference, the more it'll help them hear a new sound that they never could distinguish between. Yeah.
You know, there's just so many things you just don't think about, and you assume people know and they can hear and think about, and we take that for granted. And
yeah. And that's why the more we can get into showing with our hands what's happening, showing here, asking them what they see and feel, you know, because if we can create for them, you know, if we can help them create like a map and an understanding of what's happening in their mouth, they can do anything. They can make any sound.
Yeah.
And if they can understand that when they do this tiny movement, it makes this sound, they'll hear the difference. If they can see the difference, they'll hear it better. If they can hear it, they'll see it better. So using all of these different, you know, kinesthetic, all of these different things just helps bridge those gaps so they can hear the difference well and so that they know how to change it.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay, so I think for today, why don't we, let's see. Why don't we listen to some of her recording, your recording her, and just we can address the different things. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Do you want?
The other thing, because what I was gonna do is teach you a different accent. You know, like have you learn some British. Would you rather do that?
No, I want to stay the course of what we're.
Yeah, I kind of feel that
with
too.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
And no, and I do know what it's like to be the student because I was taking Spanish classes, and then it really opened my my eyes when I had a Spanish tutor.
Great, yeah. And then I just wanted you to feel with these techniques, what it's like on the receiving end of these techniques. But we'll still do that. I'll find a way to do all those things together.
Okay.
Okay.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
This sound is more of a flat tongue. Little bit.
Okay, so you hear how she's saying be, a. And so if you can show her, what I'm hearing is a, which is actually two sounds, e. So you're starting about there. You're starting really close to the sound. But what's happening is you're used to changing that sound into what we call a diphthong. So it'll be two sounds, a, and we need to keep it really simple. And we can do that. Just go ahead and press right here. Try it. And then say yeah. Great. And then we would go.
Really change it with your finger there.
And then we can go le, be. Good.
Little bit. Little bit.
Yeah. Except that it's not little, is it?
No. Well, it turns out that way when you say it super slow. Yeah.
No, which is fine. Yeah, which is fine. As long as we get to the place where, that we're, even if you lengthen it out, little bit, that it's longer and slower. But that you're still giving them examples of the way that you would like them to do it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Little. Don't forget your little.
Great.
Little bit.
So again, I'm hearing her go, oh.
Yeah. And rather
I'm hearing her go, little.
Yeah, which is another thing though. It's good that you stuck to because we can't tackle two things at once. It's too much. So something we can do then, if we got to little bit and she's not getting that vowel and you want to work on that vowel, reduce it straight away to just the one word. And if it's messing her up that there's an L in front of it, first you can just do I. And then something that doesn't have an R or an L in it is going to be easier right off the bat.
Yeah.
So you could go, kit, something like that. Do something where it's not going to be changing the relationship to it very much. So if you do the tongue is in a totally different position for the duh, right? So we want to minimize the amount that their mouth is going to have to move before they get to that sound, because we want them to get to that sound. And then we branch out into words that are further away, like "wh," where they had to change something to then get back.
Yeah.
And then it's great by then because they built these little bridges. So now we can go to long bridge. Awesome.
Bake. Bake. No, this bake.
Okay. Well,
And the next one was fishing. 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 Yeah. You have a tendency to say fishing. Fishing is good if you're speaking Southern. I went fishing out at the river.
Yeah, so that's great. That's a great moment to put that in. You know, hey, it's great if you were going to do this little accent, but we're not. That's fine. You know, and it just breaks her up. You know, she's kind of in this moment where she's not really hearing it. Great. Great use of that.
Yeah.
Last night, and I caught myself a huge catfish.
That's great. I love it.
Well, just that afterwards.
Okay, so then we talked about the ing, things to do. Afterwards, there's a lot going on in afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you're gonna go spend a chapter of time working on R, great. Maybe start with a word that has one R in it, and then work up to afterwards, because there's a W, like there's a lot going on in that word, which is fine. But it might be beneficial to break it up and tackle it in pieces. So
and the more I'm listening to the 21 accents and the different instructions, I'm hearing more of the little parts that she needs to work on, like her R's. Last Monday we worked more on R. And so I think it would be more beneficial for her just to work on 1 or 2 sounds per lesson.
Yeah, or 3 if she's doing an hour. You can probably do 3.
Yeah, it's an hour.
Maybe 4. It just depends. R is you can spend a good 20 minutes on R. Another sound might be you get it really good in a couple minutes and you spend another 5 solidifying it from another direction and putting it into some words, and then and into a sentence, and you've gotten through a sentence where there are 3. Hey, Scout, it's okay, buddy. Hey, Scout, come here.
Doggy wants to talk too.
Scout, come here. Come on. Good boy. That's exciting. There are people outside. So you get into a place where you've got a sentence where you've got that sound in 3 different places in that sentence. They can get all the way to that sentence and get all 3 really well. Then it's time to move on. Because usually what'll happen, you get it in 1 word, you put it in, and then you get it in 2, say 2 out of the 4 words have that sound, and they'll hit one of them and they won't hit the other one. Or they'll get one of them and they won't get the other one. And so getting it up to where, it's whack-a-mole for a little while. But then it really does them the best service if they can get to where they've oriented themselves to hit it 3 times in a row, especially if we can do it in a sentence where there are other things in it, then they've got that sound. And they have something they can work with too. And you can say, so when you go and do your home practice, go back to this moment and record it and record yourself again and listen. Did you get every single one of them? Was one of them listen and do it again? And that kind of repetition, because we're here doing theirs.
Yeah. Well, she was telling me, of course, and I think I heard you mention this at one time, there was so much easier to read out loud with a proper accent than it is to just have casual conversation and try to come up with your own words out of the air.
Yeah. Which is why when we record it and all we're doing is 100% paying attention and not thinking of what to say or how to say it, we can hear a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I always use myself as an example. And you can use me as an example, or you, if you do this, you know, if when you're doing your Spanish, if you found that recording yourself, you were able to hear way more than you did previously, then you can say, I'm not just telling you to do this because I want you to do stuff. I'm telling you because like, this is the thing that works the best for me. And I do this as for a living. If I'm going in on
I
a
do that.
voiceover audition, I have to record myself because I'll hear things from that I don't hear. And I've been doing this for a while, you know? So like, that's why it works.
Well, afterwards. Well,
okay, so you're working on the W.
It has no sound. It has no voice. It's just lip.
So, and what did you mean by that? The W has no voice?
Has no, the W doesn't really have a voice like E and ah and A. It's just a wah, wah. She was putting too much voice into her W.
Okay. Because I would describe it the opposite. I say that W is
really
a vowel. It's you know, sorry, let me just make sure this is sorry about that. Yeah, W really only exists if it's voiced. Otherwise, it's right. You can go, but it's not. It's ooh. It's was, which engages. Like if you, the test too is if you press here, ooh, and if you can feel anything with, it's
with,
then it does the voice.
What with? Because I was thinking of the W sound and the I, or the W sound and the were two separate sounds.
That the W, like wi and wa?
Yeah. So it'd be w, I, and w,
Right, but all
so
of those
to me the W didn't.
Wa is voiced.
True.
Well, in fact, I found it really helpful to say it's basically a vowel. It's like a vowel. I even teach R as something that's like a vowel, because for wa, if you say ooh, ooh is the beginning of this movement. Ooh, and wa is from that place that you ended up with. That's wa, you know, ooh. It's just coming out of the other side of a ooh. So if they can make an ooh, then they're halfway there to the W. They just ooh and then pause, woo, and do it backwards. That's a W.
Oh, okay.
So
okay. I'll have to rethink that one.
In with the O's there, and partly because for whatever reason, W and V often are sort of linked in people's minds, even though they're very, V is actually closer to F. Hey, guess what's out? So I link them. I teach V and F together, and I teach W and oo together, so that they realize that they don't start going the for what.
Yeah, I'll have to watch those videos over again for your W's. Yeah, I'll do that.
Cool.
Lip placement.
Afterwards.
So if you were saying the word, you wouldn't say water, you would say water. You would go from your position into the ah. Water. Water.
I say
water.
Water.
Not water.
Yeah,
so
water.
So here's what I'm hearing you say. You're saying water. It's not water.
I understand.
It's English language. Water.
Okay, cool. So I love how you said, here's what I'm hearing you say. And you can also, if they're sort of talking on top of you and not really there, you can just say, I'm going to pause you for just a moment. Or
yeah, because she was kind of in her own little bubble here.
And that can happen.
Yeah.
Let me just, that's a pause moment.
Yeah.
And just
So,
got him.
yeah, poor thing. She learned English from a British teacher, and she wants an American accent, and so
Yeah.
and then she's got the Slavic.
Well, and water
influence on
is
top
spelled
of that.
with T. It's spelled with T. It could be water. It's weird.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird. It looks like water.
Yeah.
But then what's important, and we addressed this already, so I'll go past it, but is rather than, so I loved your instinct of then making it clearer for her. Just make sure that you're not saying water, because it's not water. That's a slightly different, that's a different D.
Water.
We talked about like butter is a great one to get water. And you see how I'm doing the flap? Butter.
Butter.
Yeah, that's great. Because then if they do that, loose hand, they know what that rhythm feels like. And if they do that by their face, their tongue is going to mirror neuron. It's going to like be using its mirror neurons to go like, oh, I know that rhythm. Butter, water. Cool. And then I think, do you go into the R after this?
You say fisher.
Oh yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
Fish. Just
Fish.
fish.
To keep it to fish.
Great.
Fish. At all.
I don't like big fish at all.
I don't like big fish at all. I don't like.
She's saying, oh.
Yeah.
At all.
At all. No. I would have to listen for that. Okay.
Yeah, so then if that was something where you were then going to work on that all, which I think you determined at this point, like, not the moment to work on that all, we'll move on.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
Yeah.
But if you were going to work on it, since, we're here just looking at how to teach things, another thing that I find really helpful is to look at lip placement. So I love that you mentioned the smile or something like that. That placement of, I'll speak to, notice that your lips, the muscle memory in your lips is wanting to go, oh. And so you're used to it coming down and being very forward sound, which is really more of an ow shape, which is a vowel, a different sound. It's a good sound. It's just not L. So then what can be helpful? So then notice how the corners of my mouth stay quite open for and we'll just have them say and their tongue is probably going to want to go in that action. It'll be going and they'll probably get, so just first getting them to say in a very calm and notice with as you do that, just show them the back of their tongue is going down. Good. Yeah. And then we'll go, go ahead. Beautiful. Nice and flat. You can say, do you hear the difference then between, like, which one sounds more open? Of
course it's
Yeah. Sounds more open. Good. I mean, but those kind of things, like asking them questions, keeps them much more engaged. If we're just talking with them the whole time, they're just in like listen and repeat mode. But if you ask them the questions, they have to figure it out for themselves. And they're much more, they're on alert. They're like, oh, I'm being asked something.
Yep.
So then from there,
go ahead.
So then from there, we're going to go all. And depending on the advancement of the student, if they're more beginning, I'll probably teach them all with your tongue. What you probably noticed with Raluca, if I didn't do it in that one, I did it in another one, is that L doesn't actually connect. We don't actually connect it. We don't say all. We say all. And the tongue like imagines it's going to go up there, but it doesn't. It just makes a bucket. All.
It's an invisa L.
Yeah. So when we're getting into really fine tuning and stuff, that's just like way too hard of a concept to be. We can't teach 47 L's to a beginner, you know? So just getting them to do the first before the L happens is great. And again, using this kind of thing is really, really handy for tongue. Keeping the fingers flat as you're doing is great because they'll probably do something different and kind of smushy, and then just make sure that what they're doing.
Yeah, she kind of likes her hands sort of like flapping around a little bit.
Yeah, and just say, okay, notice right now that my hand is doing this. It's very straight. And if your hand is doing something different, it's not going to help you. In fact, it's going to make it harder. So just go ahead and practice just the movement for now, because then it will definitely help you. And, you know, you can just pause and take that moment.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My dear,
So sweet. You're so sweet.
what is something you can tell me about that you are very familiar with?
I like to go bike riding.
I like riding bikes is usually how we say it. I like riding bikes.
I like riding bikes. I like riding bikes. I like riding bikes.
You're excited. I like riding bikes.
I like riding bikes. I like riding bikes. Like riding bikes. Riding.
Okay, so there, that moment where she's in her, repeat, and then you can say, great, now let's look at this one word.
Oh, okay.
What did you hear? Did you hear anything in there when you said it? Did you pay, or you can say, okay, good. Now say it again, slow enough that you can notice whether you're saying ride in or riding. Let them figure it out. Say it again slow enough, because they'll go like, uh-oh, if she's having me do it again, I might not get it right. And she might not get it the next time. She'll be paying attention. And so did you notice? And then you can say, if you notice, if you say that word and you notice that you're saying it the old way, don't go on to bikes. Just stop right there and change that little piece of the track. Because what can happen if we're going along on the train and the track gets off into an old pattern, if we stop right then and fix the track and just go back over it and then come back that little bit, we'll have it. But if we just keep going, we're solidifying that old pattern again. So I'll say, you know, we'll go along and maybe you'll notice here that you went off track, but you're going so fast, you don't stop yourself until here. So that's part of the flow. But then if you notice it here, and then as soon as you notice it, you teach yourself to go back and change it, that distance between when it happens and when you notice it will get shorter and shorter until you're noticing that it's coming and you're changing it before you say it. And then eventually you won't even have to think about it anymore because it'll just be natural. But if you keep going and you don't stop yourself and you wonder if I'm going to hear it, A, I will hear it. I hear all of you. B, I'm going to think you didn't hear it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
But you already know. So if you empower yourself to tell yourself, great. Because I'm not going to be there for you all the other times. We only get an hour a week, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. That's a philosophy that I find helpful, and I love that you have your own too. But it's just a great example of teasing something out rather than trying to continue and give them the whole sentence when they don't even know what they're paying attention to. Just dial it into, great, okay, let's work on this one word. Or say that again and notice. And if they do it again and they don't notice and they're not changing it and they're still not getting it, you know, maybe they'll have it. But if they don't, go back. Okay, let's revise on that one word again. So, and then we can break it up and just do riding. And if it's tricky after the, you know, just dial it into as small as you can and build up from there. Is that any questions or thoughts or additions to that?
No. My brain is going,
That's healthy.
Yes, I tell her all the time she's an English athlete.
I love that. There's a tongue twister you might like that's the English language is the linguist's anguish. You know that one?
The English language is the
linguist's anguish.
Linguist's anguish. That's hard for me to say.
I know, right? It's so good. I think it's a British one.
Do you know how long it took me to say linoleum? And synonym.
Synonym
Yeah.
versus cinnamon.
Synonym and synonyms.
Yeah, I had a friend who used to
And
say
spaghetti.
synonym.
Yeah.
Yeah, spaghetti. Well, that's great. So you can say, look, I know that sometimes this is challenging. Sometimes it's ridiculous why we pronounce things the way that we do. It was hard for me to learn to say spaghetti. And they might laugh and be like, what? No way, you're a teacher. And you can say, yeah. I mean, you probably do. But anything that they know that you had to work for it too, that you know what they're going through, it's us not coming down from on high, but it just makes us sharing things that were helpful for us. And that's great. All right. So what are your biggest takeaways from today in terms of ways, what to do when somebody is having trouble getting a sound?
Having trouble getting a sound, to take it slowly.
Beautiful.
To use the hand motions.
Awesome.
To just focus on the very simple words with the perhaps even just one sound. If a whole word is too complicated, and showing the tongue going flat, and lots of praise.
Yeah.
And pausing.
Yeah. Pausing with your friend. Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. One thing that I found really helpful, especially if there's a particular word that they're having trouble with, is to find the same sound that I'd like them to get in another word.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, butter is a nice home word, because they'll probably already have that and you can go. But if you find another word that has that same sound, or like you said, just working on the sound, but maybe with a different letter in front of it, and one of the easy letters like k or t, or something where it's not it's not L or N or R. Then you can graft, once they get that several times, you can have them do that 5 times, and then on the 6th, put it back into the old one. And they'll probably have it. They might not, and then it's not funny. And then you can say, okay, did you notice the difference here between when you said bit, bit, or A's? You totally had it with bit. And then when you said is, it was A's. Did you hear the difference there? Because that's the same vowel. Something like that. Because then anytime you can show them a comparison, they're more likely to be able to grab it. And then this is what I was saying about the grafting. So you get them in this word and graft on just the end. And maybe the middle is the part that's in trouble. So they've got the middle here.
Need to make I'm just I'm so used to all these lessons I've been doing for so long of being so more complicated, and so it's like I'm having to switch something in my brain to actually make it more simple. Because if I don't make it more simple, it becomes more complicated.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Because if it's not simple enough that they can grasp the fundamentals there, then adding it in means that they miss it. They're not able to get it.
Yeah.
And that's what, when you're teaching an entire language, there's just so much to pay attention to that, they just paying attention to the words is plenty,
Yeah.
And when you're teaching an accent too, there's so many layers. There's the melody, and there's all these different aspects of it. But if we try and teach them all at once, they won't be able to get any of them. So, so that's starting with the fundamentals as you're doing of the pronunciation, and then it gets really fun when we get to work into melody and what different things mean, and the rhythm and all that. But there's plenty of Yay!
Yeah. Okay.
Great job. I can tell that she really trusts you and has fun. That's so important. That's so important.
Oh, you should have heard her praise. I was like, oh, thank you. When I saw her last Monday, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to tell Amy.
Oh,
It's like,
so
oh, thank
glad.
you, Gail, so glad.
I'm so glad. Yeah, that's great. That's great. It'll continue. Yay. Okay.
So and it made me feel, I mean, because I was dragging and I didn't want to work. I was feeling depressed. And so then I get in class with her and it's just all this positive energy. And then I started feeling great.
Good. That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's so great, Gail. I'm just thrilled for you and grateful. Yay.
Okay. I think I'll need you to send me a bill because I don't know where we are on the.
No, I don't either.
The ledger.
I think we're probably at a place where if we do one more, then I think we can have you. Then Alex will hook you up to do a 30-minute session with somebody. So cool. How does that feel for you?
Sounds great. Okay. Yeah, because I have a lot to review and I'm going to practice some more with Anastasia. She's been a great sounding board. I'm really thankful for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so I need to study some more. What was I going to say? I don't know. I was going to send you $200 on Monday.
Okay. That sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I need you to send me a bill to my I'll just give you the address because I'm not using my old PayPal.
Okay.
I'm using my husband's PayPal. Do you want to do it
through Venmo or through PayPal or by check or what?
Well, I don't have Venmo, so I mean, if there's a way to pay it online, I could just do it that way with a credit card or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
So
yeah. I mean, PayPal, as you probably know, takes out this percentage, but I mean, if you're able,
I know.
Yeah. But that's fine. If that's what it needs to be, that's totally fine.
Whatever works for you, just send me an email and then let me know. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And we'll just, I mean, I'll look at, I feel like 200 will round you out. So if we ended up doing an extra session or two or something, I feel like that's fine.
Cool. You know? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Okay. Good.
All right. Fantastic.
Especially in the winter. So that's great. And I love your dedication and it's important to me to get you the tools that you need that you're working so hard on. So great.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, dear.
Have a good afternoon. Thanks. Bye-bye.